Great film based on real events, but this is quite different. Not the inspirational true story. This is a cautionary tale. It's a true crime thriller.
Ron Howard's journey from TV's friendly neighborhood kid to a Hollywood directing powerhouse seems like the American dream come true. But behind the charm and success lies a story full of unexpected struggles. Bullying by co-stars, dangerous accidents on set, and personal sacrifices that almost broke him. What kept one of America's favorite directors silent for so long? For nearly 50 years, Howard concealed the harsh realities behind the glitz. Near-fatal mishaps, costly lawsuits, and family secrets that nearly destroyed his marriage. Now, he's finally speaking out about the shadows that trailed his dazzling career. Childhood struggles and early setbacks. Ron Howard's journey through Hollywood was anything but smooth, even from the very beginning. Born in 1954 in Duncan, Oklahoma, Ron's family wasn't wealthy. In fact, they struggled to get by. By 1958, when Ron was just 4, his parents took a bold leap, packing everything and moving to Hollywood in hopes of better opportunities. It was a risky decision with no guarantees, landing them in a tiny Burbank home, barely scraping by. Yet this move quietly set the stage for Ron's lifelong connection to the entertainment industry, as he grew up surrounded by film sets and cameras. Ron's entry into acting was almost accidental. At only 18 months old, he appeared in a brief scene in the movie Frontier Woman at his father's whim. This small role launched him into the world of show business, but his parents were determined to protect him from the harsh realities of child stardom. They imposed a strict rule: no full-time acting until he was 5 years old. While this decision nearly bankrupted them, forcing them to pawn possessions and turn down paying roles, it spoke to their genuine concern about giving Ron a normal childhood. Even with this protection, life during those early years was difficult. Ron's father, Rance Howard, had recently left the Air Force and struggled to find stable work as an actor and writer. The family faced so many financial hardships that at one desperate point, Rance seriously considered quitting Hollywood altogether to become a farmer in Oklahoma. But they stayed the course, determined to give Ron a chance, even as debt mounted to the equivalent of $5,000 today. Ron's earliest experiences on set were far from glamorous. When finally cast in the 1959 movie The Journey, his name appeared in the credits for the first time. But that milestone was overshadowed by cruelty from crew members. They mocked his red hair and freckles, calling him names like freckle-faced freak, which broke his young heart. His father had to confront the abusive treatment, arguing with crew members at risk of losing work. The job barely paid over $12,000, but it meant the world to the family. Despite those challenges, Ron's parents tried to maintain normalcy. They kept him in public school and encouraged him to be just a regular kid whenever possible. However, the increasing pressures of the industry seeped into his life. By 1960, Ron auditioned for and won the role of Opie Taylor on The Andy Griffith Show, which became a national sensation. At only 6 years old, he was thrust into the spotlight, carrying a beloved character through 249 episodes. The show's success brought fame and steady income, but it also came with intense demands. Ron had to memorize long scripts, meet tight schedules, and deliver perfect performances without the benefit of a live audience. Behind the scenes, he was growing up fast, balancing the innocence of childhood with the responsibility of a workaholic lifestyle. He developed a close bond with Andy Griffith, who became both mentor and father figure, guiding Ron through the complexities of acting and emotional challenges on set. But not all aspects of the show were happy. Howard witnessed Andy Griffith struggle with alcoholism, sometimes erupting in angry outbursts that unsettled the cast and crew. On one occasion, Andy publicly read a harsh review and visibly broke down, revealing vulnerabilities behind his jovial public persona. Still, he remained supportive of Ron, helping him navigate the emotional demands of his role with kindness and patience. But just when hope seemed dim, a turning point was on the horizon, a new phase of challenges and revelations that would test him in unexpected ways. The Opie shaming incident. In 1973, Ron Howard's budding film career took a dark turn during the production of the now classic American Graffiti. Though the movie promised to launch him into new heights, off-camera life was far from glamorous. Co-stars Harrison Ford and Paul Le Mat subjected Ron to relentless bullying, marking what he later called his only moment of Opie shaming. The torment included throwing beer bottles near his car, locking him inside a trailer to make him miss rehearsals, and spiking his drinks. All because Ron had been a beloved child star, and they didn't respect that legacy. Howard endured this harassment silently. The humiliation gnawed at him, but he kept his pain private for decades, unwilling to tarnish the film's success or his own image. At that time, Hollywood was hardly a kinder place, especially for those who had transitioned from child acting to adult roles. Ron's experience exposed the harsh reality that even fame did not shield him from cruelty on set. Despite the torment, Ron persevered, managing to complete his role and earn $10,000 from the film. It was a modest sum compared to the box office success American Graffiti would achieve, grossing over $115 million in the United States alone. Yet, the emotional scars from the bullying lingered, shaping Ron's approach to relationships and trust within the industry. The time period of several years brought Harrison Ford to express his apology to Ron because he understood the damaging effects that his treatment of Ron had caused to Ron. The apology provided some degree of resolution, yet the incident continued to exist as a disturbing memory throughout Howard's professional path. The study demonstrated how childhood stardom presents both temporary success and difficulties which young performers face when they attempt to interact with Hollywood's social networks. The experience showed how industry relationships bring about difficulties that people who work together in the field face. American Graffiti developed into a classic film, yet its production faced destruction through toxic behavior that remained unknown to everyone except members who belonged to its close-knit group. The public statement from Ron explained how child actors experience intense pressure to show themselves without any faults because their internal struggles remain hidden from others. Ron experienced a profound transformation to his Hollywood perspective through this event, which led him to make a decision to leave acting behind in favor of directing work, which allowed him to control his surroundings. The incident established his dual need for caution and resilience, which would guide him throughout his leadership responsibilities on subsequent film productions. The Opie shaming incident served as a personal challenge for Ron, which transformed into a critical moment that equipped him to handle the difficult situations which would arise during his upcoming professional career. From these early setbacks and painful betrayals grew a new phase of triumphs and trials. As one of television's brightest stars navigated the highs and lows of sudden fame, the rise of Happy Days, and behind-the-scenes tensions. When Ron Howard landed the role of Richie Cunningham on Happy Days in 1974, it seemed like a fresh start. The show offered him steady work and a chance to redefine himself after years of struggle, transitioning from child star to respected actor. The first episode drew in 11 million viewers, signaling a bright future. Initially centered on teenage life in 1950s Milwaukee, Happy Days slowly evolved into a cultural phenomenon. By 1976, the show skyrocketed in popularity, thanks in large part to Henry Winkler's breakout role as the Fonz. Fonzie's rebellious charisma captured the audience's imagination, and ratings soared to 31 million viewers weekly. However, this shift brought challenges for Ron. Though he had been the show's lead from the start, he now found himself overshadowed in the public eye and the producers' plans. ABC executives pushed to rename the series Fonzie's Happy Days to capitalize on Winkler's rising fame. This proposal struck at the heart of the original story, sidelining Ron's character Richie. Not willing to be pushed aside, Ron gave an ultimatum in November 1976. He would quit if the show's title changed. The threat nearly ended the series, but public outrage saved it. More than 10,000 angry letters flooded ABC, demanding that the show keep its original name. The network relented, preserving Happy Days as the title and Ron Howard's place as its leading star. Yet, beneath the victory simmered tension. The rise of Fonzie had altered dynamics on set, setting the stage for jealousy and resentment. Even as the show pulled in $50 million a year by 1977, the cast grappled with issues over screen time, pay disparities, and favoritism. Ron earned $25,000 per episode, roughly one-third of Henry Winkler's $75,000. Anson Williams, who played Potsy, was making even less, half of Ron's salary. These inequities created friction that grew over time. During a November 1976 shoot, Williams walked off set, reportedly furious that a scene had been rewritten to favor Ron. ABC sought to keep these disputes quiet to protect the show's image and $50 million merchandising machine. Yet, the problems bubbled under the surface for years. In 2012, Anson Williams and other former cast members sued CBS over unpaid royalties from Happy Days merchandise. Though Ron was not involved, he later admitted in 2025 that these moments nearly destroyed friendships forged during the show's peak. Amid the conflicts, Ron quietly began exploring avenues beyond acting. In early 1975, he directed his first short film, Deed of Daring Do, using a tiny budget and a brief 2-week break. Henry Winkler even made a cameo, signaling their complicated but ongoing bond. Ron's experiences on Happy Days set the stage for a dramatic shift in his career as he prepared to face new challenges behind the camera, moving on from child star struggles toward creative control. Directorial debut and early challenges. Ron Howard's shift from in front of the camera to behind it marked a bold new chapter that would define his career. While still starring on Happy Days, he quietly made his first short film, Deed of Daring Do, in early 1975. Working with a shoestring budget of just $2,000 and shooting in a mere 2 weeks, Ron showed early signs of directorial promise. Henry Winkler, his co-star, made a cameo, adding a friendly nod from their complex on-set relationship. Though rumors swirled about plagiarism, no evidence ever linked Ron to copying, reflecting the unclear copyright landscape of the time. This modest project wasn't just a side endeavor. It won a small prize at the Atlanta Film Festival that September, giving Ron the encouragement he needed to pursue directing more seriously. That push led to his first feature film, Grand Theft Auto, released in 1977. Shot on a budget of $600,000, it became a surprising success, grossing around $15 million. The lawsuit that followed was quietly settled in 1978, but the incident deeply affected Ron. The experience brought home the dangers that could lurk behind movie magic, cementing his lifelong commitment to on-set safety. This focus would shape his reputation in later years as a director who valued not just the craft, but the well-being of his cast and crew. Grand Theft Auto, while far from a blockbuster, set the foundation for a conscientious directing style that balanced ambition with care. After his transition to directing, Ron achieved his first major success with Splash, which he released in 1984. The romantic comedy film, which cost $11 million to produce, achieved almost $70 million in box office earnings. The production team experienced internal conflicts, which created problems throughout the entire project. Hanks had a reputation for throwing temper tantrums whenever someone altered the script, and he almost lost the film because of his explosive argument with staff members. Ron intervened to end the fight, which demonstrated his ability to control dangerous situations on movie sets. The studios wanted to cancel Splash because they believed the film would not succeed. Disney protected the movie through its belief in the Touchstone label, which allowed the film to continue operating successfully. Ron learned from this experience that potential projects could fail at any time, which established his need for continuous leadership during movie production. The lessons he absorbed from Splash shaped how he faced Hollywood's ups and downs with a clearer vision of what directing demanded. Cocoon production resumed in 1985 because of safety issues during its filming. Harold Jenkins, an extra who had been fired from the production, sent death threats to Ron and the crew. Fox had to spend $150,000 on security services, which provided protection to the cast and crew throughout the day. Jenkins believed the film disrespected elderly people, which made him threaten to stop production until the script received major changes, and the film release moved to June. Ron Howard's growing creative ambitions soon led him into the world of large-scale filmmaking, where the pressures and conflicts escalated significantly. High-profile film conflicts and safety concerns. Ron Howard's rise into big-budget filmmaking brought dramatic successes but also serious challenges, including dangerous accidents and tense personnel conflicts. In 1991, while directing the firefighter drama Backdraft, a stunt went horribly wrong. On July 23, 1990, an uncontrolled fire broke out, severely burning Kurt Russell's hand and face. 3 other crew members were also injured in the blaze. Ron later admitted they never truly knew when the fire might rage out of control. The incident haunted him for years, underscoring the risks inherent in action filmmaking. Yet, despite the safety failures and injury claims, Backdraft was a hit, earning $152 million and an Oscar nomination for its visual effects. The accident reinforced Ron's commitment to prioritizing safety and meticulous planning on set in all future projects. Another intense production was the 1995 film Apollo 13, a highly accurate space drama starring Tom Hanks. The demanding actor insisted on authenticity down to NASA's exact transcripts, leading to multiple rewrites amid tense negotiations. Production briefly shut down in October 1994, costing around $2 million, as Ron nearly walked away from the project in frustration. NASA employees had to mediate disputes, balancing artistic vision with scientific accuracy. However, Howard's climb in the industry sometimes brought unexpected threats. While filming 1996's Ransom, Ron and his family faced chilling harassment. On Valentine's Day, he received letters threatening his children, and suspicious vehicles were spotted outside their home. The FBI intervened, helping the family relocate temporarily in March. Though no arrests were made, the incident left a lasting impression, making the film deeply personal for Howard. Ransom still grossed over $300 million at the box office. In 2001, Howard directed A Beautiful Mind, a biopic about mathematician John Nash's battle with schizophrenia. The movie was honored with Best Picture and Best Director Oscars, grossing over $313 million. Yet, the set was tense, with star Russell Crowe exhibiting volatile behavior, including an incident where he threw a phone at a hotel clerk. Ron even fired Crowe during production, only to rehire him days later to avoid financial losses. The tensions and stakes of grand-scale filmmaking eventually intertwined with personal battles and public controversies, shaping the next chapters of Ron Howard's life. Controversies and industry battles. Ron Howard's career has been marked not only by artistic achievement, but also by navigating fierce controversies that tested his resilience. One of the most high-profile uproars erupted with 2006's The Da Vinci Code, a film that ignited a global backlash from religious groups, most notably the Catholic Church. The movie's controversial narrative suggested that Jesus married Mary Magdalene and fathered a child, a storyline that stirred protests, bans, and even death threats against Howard. Despite the vitriol, the film's worldwide gross surpassed $760 million, showcasing a paradox between cultural outrage and commercial success. While critics and some church leaders condemned the film as morally offensive and a twisted portrayal of sacred traditions, others argued it sparked curiosity and debate. The Vatican discouraged followers from watching it, but ultimately chose not to mount an organized boycott, recognizing the unintended promotional effect. Howard later expressed frustration over the persistent anger, but remained steadfast in his artistic choices. The challenges didn't end there. In Italy, Howard and author Dan Brown nearly faced arrest over unauthorized filming permits, adding bureaucratic turmoil to their troubles. The Vatican's public denouncement only heightened global curiosity, amplifying the spotlight on the director. This tense dance between creativity and conservative backlash illustrated the tightrope filmmakers walk when tackling provocative subjects. Howard's experience underscored how cultural power structures can influence art's reception, sometimes aggressively. In 2015, his company Imagine Entertainment became embroiled in a serious lawsuit over the 2014 film The Good Lie. 54 Sudanese refugees alleged their traumatic real-life stories of starvation and escape from militias were exploited without fair compensation or the promised aid. Filed in Atlanta, the lengthy legal battle cast a shadow over the project, with claims the refugees received minimal financial benefit despite the film's humanitarian intentions. Although Howard was not personally named in the suit, the public backlash was significant, especially given the movie's modest $3.2 million U.S. box office take. The 2018 film Solo: A Star Wars Story brought various problems for Ron Howard, who worked behind the scenes. After firing the original directors, Howard took over the project to complete it through his work on the reshoots. The project required work on 70% of the film, which resulted in budget costs reaching $275 million. The critics claimed Howard removed the original director's edgy style from the film, which he replaced with a standard filmmaking method that made the movie less authentic. Howard's performance in this role created two types of legal problems because it generated fan petitions that opposed his artistic choices. The actors needed to work together with the team because they required additional support to adapt to the new performance style, which resulted in a postponed release date. The ousted directors from Lord and Miller decided to take executive producer positions while they rejected directing credits. The film faced many obstacles, but it still managed to earn almost $400 million in international revenue, which did not meet its extremely high performance expectations. Yet, no matter how public the battles and external pressures were, Ron's personal life endured its own trials behind the curtain. Family and personal life under pressure. Behind the camera, Ron Howard faced profound personal challenges that tested his marriage and family bonds. He met Cheryl Alley in high school, a relationship grounded in steady loyalty amid the unpredictability of his rising fame. Their first date took place in November 1970, and despite rumors of teenage pregnancy and tabloid gossip that threatened to derail their young romance, they remained united. Ron proposed 3 times before Cheryl said yes in October 1974, and they married the next year. Their enduring partnership became a cornerstone in Ron's turbulent life. Though they lived a relatively private life, financial struggles shadowed Ron and Cheryl during his early career. In the early 1970s, Ron delivered newspapers to support their outings, making just $150 a month. A serious car accident in 1971 left him with whiplash and $3,000 in medical bills. Daunting sums at a precarious point in his career. He even sold his bicycle to cover costs, and the lingering pain affected some of his later acting performances. These hardships underscored the fragility of life before the fame and fortune arrived. Despite the commercial and critical success of films like American Graffiti, Ron faced industry inequities. Though the movie earned over $115 million in the United States, Ron received a flat $10,000 with no share of the profits. His request for 1% of the box office returns, amounting to over $1 million, was denied by George Lucas, straining their friendship. These financial frustrations further motivated Ron to secure roles on television, notably Happy Days, which offered him steady income and a platform for reinvention. Ron managed to maintain his personal life, which faced tabloid rumors and unproven stories about his alleged affairs during the late 1970s. His marriage endured challenges throughout his life. Cheryl proved to be his faithful partner while they parented 4 children together. Their 2025 Golden Anniversary celebration confirmed their lasting dedication to each other. The complexities of Ron's personal battles and public controversies would continue to shape his legacy, carrying his story forward into its next unexpected chapters. Legacy, reflection, and recent struggles. As Ron Howard's career entered its later stages, he faced an evolving set of personal and professional challenges that shaped his legacy in unexpected ways. While his history of success is undeniable, newer controversies and revelations prompted a deep reflection on privilege, responsibility, and resilience. His journey, once defined by childhood stardom and early hardships, became interwoven with candid admissions about the complexities of Hollywood's nepotism and the toll of public scrutiny. In 2025, Ron's daughter, Bryce Dallas Howard, directly confronted discussions around nepotism. Born into a family steeped in show business, Bryce openly acknowledged the advantages of her lineage on a podcast called Happy, Sad, Confused. She stressed that while doors opened easily for her, the work to sustain her own career was intense and deliberate. This honest reckoning sparked varied reactions online, with both praise for her transparency and skepticism about inherited privilege. Ron himself has never publicly confirmed directly giving her roles, but Bryce reaffirmed family influence played a significant part in her path. This moment of openness marked a broader shift for Ron. After decades of navigating fame and controversy quietly, both he and his family chose a more transparent dialogue about Hollywood's realities. BuzzFeed and other outlets praised their willingness to speak frankly about systemic advantages often denied by other stars. Having Henry Winkler, Ron's longtime friend and former co-star, as Bryce's godfather, further cemented the intergenerational connections that defined their industry experience. Health and family grief also impacted Ron in recent years. His father, Rance Howard, an actor in his own right, passed away in 2017 at the age of 89. Rance's dedication to the craft until his final days inspired Ron and his brother Clint, highlighting a family deeply committed to storytelling. Despite rumors of disputes over Rance's will, no proof ever surfaced. Instead, Ron has publicly expressed gratitude for his brother and the irreplaceable bond they share, often collaborating on projects and honoring their shared heritage. The couple's achievement of 50 years of marriage represents an exceptional accomplishment that demonstrates their ability to succeed in an industry known for its demanding nature. Their story began when they developed romantic feelings for each other at a Burbank high school, but later proved all Hollywood rumors to be untrue. Their relationship has withstood both their initial humble beginnings and their current status as parents of 4 children and grandparents of 6 grandchildren. Ron considers Cheryl to be his lucky charm because their marriage has lasted many years, which he believes gives them strength together. Ron encountered fresh challenges to his professional life, even though he had built a strong family base. The Netflix movie Hillbilly Elegy, released in 2020, received mixed reviews because critics rated it poorly, while audiences found it much more enjoyable. The film explored political themes which featured actual people, causing viewers to engage in detailed discussions about how stories should be interpreted and told. Ron expressed surprise about how political changes affected his political work because he lacked control over these external events, which created unpredictable effects on his professional image. His recent acting ventures showcase his dedication to trying out fresh opportunities and tackling different challenges. Ron received his initial acting Emmy nomination in 2025 for a comedy series which Seth Rogen starred in. Ron returned to television after his 1984 Happy Days departure through fight scenes, which he developed spontaneously because he wanted to perform his role, but ended up getting a bruised rib through his dedication to acting. His nomination added another accomplishment to his successful career, which includes multiple producer Emmy wins that connect his past work as an actor with his current role as a director. Ron Howard's journey reveals a world behind the camera filled with unexpected hardships, controversies, and personal trials. From a troubled childhood to navigating Hollywood's tough realities, his story is one of resilience and growth. If you found this revealing look compelling, please like and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories behind the stars.